You're watching HNL. I'm Ursula and we are speaking to Danita Da Costa about having a confident voice in the workplace. Now, Danita, I know you've worked hard and spent many hours in developing your confident voice. And a lot of what Gravitas is about is being an expert in your field. So do you have any hacks or tools you have to stay on top of trends in your field of expertise?
So I think that's a really important point, because just sort of taking a step back, one of the things is I don't think you can truly have gravitas if you don't know what you're talking about. And if you're not on top of what's happening in your industry, and it fascinates me how few people actually are sort of paying attention to what's happening in the world, because we so easily get sucked into our little worlds and ignore everything else that's happening. So for me, there are a couple of different things I do. And I will caveat this by saying, I love learning, so it's a little bit easier for me. But you know me well enough to know I have an insane obsession with podcasts. I listen to every podcast under the sun. I have a very wide array of podcasts that I listen to, and I listen to them at least 1.8 speed, most of the time double speed.
1.8 speed?
Yes. Okay. And I'll tell you why. Because it's not about understanding, for me, especially when it's kind of news related, it's not about understanding or hearing every single word. It's about understanding the core message, because I find if I listen to every word in detail, I fixate on the little details, and then I don't pay attention to the big message, and I lose track of what the actual trend is. Yes. So if I'm listening to a podcast on retail trends, I want to hear the big takeaway. What a company is doing. I don't need to know exactly what a particular company in the US did, because it's not even my market. But understanding sort of broadly where the industry is going is important. So the podcast, definitely a big one.
So a podcast at 1.8 speed, so that you can be on top, and that's why you consume so much.
Yes, many hours of podcasts.
All right, okay, 1.8 speed. Okay, yeah. Next.
So, and not everyone can deal with that. My family will often walk in and hear me listening and think I'm absolutely nuts. But for me, it's sort of like speed reading or skimming. So that's the one. The other one for me that's really important is skimming newsletters. And by that I mean I get a lot of email newsletters that I've subscribed to. And it's not that I read all of them in detail, I really don't. But I kind of catch the headlines and see, okay, that's something I want to dig into, I want to understand it more. So a lot of that kind of thing. And then I do a lot of reading up on the internet. If there's a topic that's interesting to me, or if there is a trend that I really don't understand, I will go and investigate it. And the last thing that I think is probably a huge privilege working for Accenture is we have amazing training resources. And so we get fed content all the time. And it's optional. It's up to us to figure out what we want to consume. But I find it's fantastically done and very much short segments. So the point here is I don't listen to an hour-long video. I'll watch a 7-minute video and understand and chuckling, because I know you also use your 7-minute videos. But for me, that's the perfect length and the right depth of information. And so that's the other way that I learn and stay on top of things.
And here on HNL, we also do 7-minute videos. And you read a lot.
I do.
How many books a week? How many books a month?
So I try and do probably about a book a week. But it doesn't actually work out that way, because I read several books in parallel. So I do a fiction book. There's always a fiction book going on, because I need a little bit of light-hearted reading. My work involves a lot of reading, so may as well do some light-hearted. I do at least one fiction book, one non-fiction book at a time. So right now I am reading Range. It's really interesting. It's about sort of generalizing versus specializing, and much to my happiness, it talks about the benefits of being a generalist, which is kind of the space I'm happy in.
All right.
Not discrediting specialization, but just a different angle. And then I usually do, so right now I've got a book club called The Doctors of the Church, and we are reading up about the Doctors of the Church. It's intense, but really interesting to hear different perspectives from sometimes even centuries ago, but still relevant in today's world. And then I also lead the Women's Forum Book Club at work. And so whatever book we're reading there, which right now we're just about to start Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek.
Oh, so, nice. I want to read that one with your book club.
Fantastic.
So, okay, and I know what all of you are thinking. When does Danita work? Because she only reads and listens to podcasts, but she does work. Okay, so that is a whole other question we'll explore on another day. What is your quick nuggets of wisdom that you want to share with somebody who's just started out in the corporate space, in the workplace? They want to show their leadership, they want to communicate with confidence, but it's maybe a bit scary to speak to the higher managers or to their teams. What advice do you have for them?
So it's something I see really often is new people, especially when we've got grads coming in, it's often a very big shock to the system.
Okay.
And so there's a couple of different things that I like to say. The first is, I know we're in a virtual world, go into the office. It really, really makes a big difference because you can go in and you can meet people. Now, I'm going to caveat that by saying, don't just go in and hide in the corner. You actually have to go and say, hi, I'm Danita. Great to meet you. Which part of the business are you in? Ask something mundane, but just start the conversation.
Yes.
And then next time you're having coffee, you can comment on it. So that's the one. The other thing that I think is really important is many of us have been raised in a world where we're told, be quiet, sit still, and only speak when spoken to. Now, I'm not saying just be disrespectful, obviously, but don't be scared to voice your opinion and ask questions. There's nothing wrong with asking questions. In fact, it drives me nuts when people don't ask questions.
I know, right?
It's infuriating. And I think the other thing is advice that someone gave me a while ago, which is remember that the people who are most senior are still people. They want company, they want good conversation, so don't be scared of them.
No.
And I think that's one of the biggest things is coming in, it's very easy to be intimidated, but don't be. They're just people.
They're just people. That was such great advice. Somebody also said to me recently, networking, it's scary. And I just said, just ask questions. Take interest in your peers. Take interest in people. We will see you after the break where we're going to explore having a confident mindset with Danita.